let's bring in Martin to talk about our module of the week, or in this case, our core of the week.
Thanks, John. I think we've already had a bit of a spoiler there, but since Drupal 10.2 was released in just the last few days, I thought it would be great to talk a little bit about what site owners and developers can look forward to as they upgrade to Drupal 10.2. So, under the hood, there are some important technology updates like support for PHP 8.3. It does also include some capabilities that previously required using contrib projects. So things like file name sanitization options or having a search filter on the permissions page. End users will see performance enhancements and improved caching APIs, including things like support for PHP firers, which should help to accelerate handling things like asynchronous remote calls. Now, content creators will notice things like a new revision UI for media, as well as a wider editing area in the Claro admin theme when working on large screens. They'll also see the return of the Show Blocks button in CKeditor 5, which has been missing since CKeditor 4 until now. Site builders will see a new field creation UI that has a more visual interface and an updated workflow. There's a block visibility option based on HTTP response status. So, for example, you can have blocks that are visible or invisible based on the page being like a 404 or a 403 response page. The tour module is no longer enabled by default on the standard and umami profiles. And there's a new negated regular expression operator for views filters for string or integer fields to exclude results based on matching a provided pattern. Site owners will see improvements like the announcement feed, which is now stable and included in the standard profile. And the functionality that has to date been in the experimental help topics module is now merged into the main help module. So the help topics module is deprecated as of 10.2. And there is also a new permission specifically to be able to use the help pages. Now, there's quite a few changes for developers, and probably one of the biggest is related to the use of PHP attributes instead of doctrine annotations to declare metadata for plugin classes. Now, there's already work underway to get core code converted, and an issue open to have Rector do this conversion for contrib projects. There's also a new deprecation helper backwards compatible call method to help write Drupal extensions that can support multiple versions of core. There's a performance test base now in core to support automated testing of performance metrics. There's a new config target property in config form base to simplify creating configuration forms. Symfony Mailer is now a composer dependency of core. And there's a new decimal primitive data type. I could talk about a variety of others, including expanded configuration validation, Symfony auto wiring support, HTML5 output from the HTML utility class as the new default. But let's open it up to discussion.
I love the new release model for Drupal. So much good stuff is getting in. With this new process. I was chuckling when you were talking about the site builder's new negated regular expression for strings and integers, because first of all, I think that's a really valuable advanced feature that will make, some really complex views. I don't want to say simpler because introducing regex is never simple, but more streamlined. But I think it's funny that gets into 10.2 before. There's an issue I've been following forever where null versus false doesn't work for Boolean filters. And that issue has been ongoing. I mean, part of the reason is scope keeps changing, so it's hard to hit a moving target, but that issue's been open for years. And I feel like introducing regex would be a lot harder than just handling empty Booleans. But yeah, tons of great stuff. And people have been reaching out to me actually about the new field UI changes. The team that put that together, I think that was a lot of people on Tim's team at Acquia. They've been doing a great job getting, just kind of improving the field UI. I've been seeing it just working with 10.1. I'm looking forward to the 10.2 changes.
Like I'm super excited about some of this stuff too. I think like the field creation UI changes are going to be super nice for site builders. I reread the negate regular expression operator because I was kind of thinking of like the negate checkbox that you see everywhere. That's not very like clear on what it does, but yeah, being able to add a regular expression to remove stuff from a view feels like a superpower to me, because like there's always that instance where you're like, I want this to include all of this stuff except this one thing. And it's either because it's on that same page or like, who knows what that one thing is. But yeah, I feel like that's going to be super useful for views. And you know what, block visibility on HTTP responses.
Yeah.
So like, I feel like that's like a long time coming, right? Like it's interesting because like 404 and 403 pages always felt like I don't know, weird and like not as customizable as the rest of Drupal. And now you can drop a block on there. Like you want to put a funny GIF on your 404 page, you can go ahead and do it because you can drop blocks on those pages now.
I feel like there used to be, or maybe there still is, a contrib project that would let you do some of that, or at least for like 404 or 403. But yeah, having that in core now is really powerful.
I think I always used to do one of two things: either redirect, like there's a redirect on 404 module, I think, or you just create a custom template page for it, and then you have to like manually put the block into that page. But yeah, this makes it a lot more streamlined. I'm also very, very happy about Tor no longer being enabled by default. Having to disable that every single new project.
I think you've mentioned that a few times on the podcast.
We're just going to go down we'll just scroll right down the agenda to the smaller core topic now and talk about that.
Small core, is that still a thing?
Oh, we're going to get there, don't you worry. That's a teaser for later.
Sorry, I'm quite pleased with the PHP attributes, because I always found the having sort of not quite code, but code adjacent stuff in for plugins in comments really irritated me. So I'm looking forward to that, and it just makes the code look tidier. And
I always found the doctrine stuff to be like unusually opaque. Like maybe it's just me, but it's like you were mentioning earlier, Nick. It's one of those things that is a little bit too much like black magic. So hopefully this makes things easier.
Does anybody know if there's a good blog post comparing the two and the changes between them?
Like, well, if you go to the change record, it actually does show some examples of like the doctrine and then the equivalent using the PHP attribute. And actually, one of the things that's nice, at least in how it's formatted on Drupal.org, is it seems like you actually get more of the highlighting in your IDE by using the PHP attributes as opposed to the doctrine, which all just shows as this giant blob of gray text.
Interesting. Okay, that's cool. That's good to know, because I like, as somebody that doesn't jump into to the comments very frequently, I feel like understanding the reason for the shift and what the different style of syntax would be interesting. But I will take a look at that change record.
I don't know if you want spoilers for the advent calendar, but there is a mention of it coming up, which I feel isn't. I feel I can mention here because it will be open by the time the podcast broadcasts. So
that is true. It won't be a spoil. I mean, it's going to be a spoiler to us, but usually secrets are pretty safe with us, so you'll be okay there. All right, Drupal 10.2, very exciting.
I will say I have already found a bug in it.
Oh, there you go. There's a place you can put those.
I perhaps rashly upgraded the site that the advent calendar is running on to 10.2, and my RSS feed stopped working.
Actually,
and
that's risky. You raised a question for me. I was all ready to move along, and then I saw one more thing in this list I want to ask about. So 10.2 has Symfony Mailer as a composer dependency. Does that mean the system mail has already, or mail system? Which one is it, guys?
I think it's mail system.
Thanks. That's already been removed from core, or will be removed from core. How is that? Is that even required by core?
Mail system's a contrib module that helps you make changes to how mail is used.
Okay. Any insight as to why Symfony Mailer is a composer dependency now?
I was looking at the change record earlier, and I think there's detail in there. It does also talk about how you can enable Symfony Mailer, if I recall correctly, by adding some code to your settings.php. So instead of having to use like a contrib module to make that switch, so it may be related to that. But again, in the change record, and actually what we can do is include a link to the list of 10.2 change records in the show notes as well.
Yeah, that was kind of where my question was going, was like, is this to make Drupal core better at sending emails on its own without help?
It says this is with the aim of replacing the existing mail system in a future release. So I think it's foundational, and then we have a bit of overlap, and then eventually
there you go,
the old and move forward with the new.
That makes
sounds like a deprecation coming our way soon.
Yeah, heads up.
A deprecation coming soon to a computer near you. All right. Well, on that note, Martin, thank you for a very enlightening module of the week segment.